So we'll begin our Jaiva Dharma study, and we'll have a small kirtan initially. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ramo Ramo Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Jaya Nityananda Rai Jaya Nityananda Rai Nityananda Rai Jaya Nityananda Rai Nityananda Rai Jaya Nityananda Rai Nityananda Rai Jaya Nityananda Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura O Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhabika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Radha Govinda Shi Ji Ki Jai Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandan Bhakti Vinod Thakur Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Maha Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Baladevi Vibhushan Gaudi Acharya Ki Jai Jai Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamnanda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai Jai Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bharadasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Prasada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sika Ho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gaudranadvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritudvip Janadvip Modandvip Rudradvip Atmakanavadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwadasa Vatmaka Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai Shri Radhakun Shamakun Ganga Jamuna Tulasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shri Punamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shri Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sujashan Chakra Ki Jai Shri Ketra Mandal Ki Jai Sarva Vigna Vinasakari Shri Nashingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakta Prava Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Charidam Ki Jai Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai Chari Acharya Ki Jai Akara Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaye Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Swarupe Daita Swarupe Prema Swarupe Sahaja Virupe Nijana Rupe Papruve Peruke Patana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavaratino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Dikatam Vasadipita Siddharthadare Kandare Swaratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Prabhajantam Anapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tam Mayatayo Taravo Binidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charana Ravindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smara madurashmitasyam vada miradam karuna bharatram tato mamanasti gatina kapi tavaivasmi najivami tvaivina iti vignaya radhe tvam nayamam charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazarashi Shimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazarashi Shimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto our beloved Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. And all our Rupanuga, Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitanam Papnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. So, continuing our Jaiva Dharma reading and study. Today we've had rain all day from early morning, 2 o'clock in the morning until now. So I hope the internet stays strong. It can sometimes affect it. So we'll start with our Falshruti. Priti Viteyata Kata Dharma Name Chale Bhagavata Kahe Shava Paripurna Chale. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as Dharma are utterly deceptive. So we should really appreciate that statement deeply in our own lives and see what morality we're carrying through from our conditioned state, what senses of attachment that we're carrying through. We should examine all of these. What is my what am I holding on to in this material world? Just like we always take the examples of the gopis, they left everything, their shyness, their shame, their dharma, their chastity, their reputation, more than anything. They left everything to be with Krishna. So it's like this. So these material dharmas are going to be described as naimitic. We'll discuss this today. Chale dharma chade karam kara satya dharma mati chatu vargya tyaji dara nitya prema gati. One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and absorb his mind in true dharma. This is what we'll also discuss today. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life, dharma, artha, karma, moksha, and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of nitya prem. This is called nitya dharma, as opposed to naimitic dharma. We need to become familiar with these Sanskrit terminologies so that we can not trip over them each time they come. If we can incorporate them into our English thinking, what is nitya, what is naimitika today, what is a vastu, we're going to be, what is nishag, these terminologies, very, very helpful to hold on to. Amitva mamsa brahme nija jade buddhi nirvishesha brahma gyan nahi chida sudhi. Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. That is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by endeavors for nirvishesh brahm gyan. The devas are aiming and aspiring for Brahman realization because the spiritual master of the devas, Brihaspati, he has been described as being Brahman realized. So this means that the devas, they see Vishnu come to save them many times from the demons, but they think that the ultimate is the impersonal aspect of the Brahman. So they can't develop the relationship, the personal relationship with Krishna. It's only in this plane, this earthly plane, that we have this opportunity to see Krishna directly in his personal form. We can appreciate that. So we don't want that Deva worship. But this Nirvishesh Brahm is prevalent everywhere. Of course, even in this earthly plane, people who don't have the courage basically to accept a personal form of the Lord and want to put the Lord into an impersonal place. That means that they can get away with all their sins, they think. They can do so many sinful, they don't have to be following God if God is not a person. How do I have to feel that same respect for him if he's Nirvishesh Brahm? And even the whole world in the various dealings socially are becoming more and more and more impersonal. Over the last 20, 30 years, we see this impersonal tendency within relationships, etc. So this is all a part of this Nirvishesh Brahm Gyan. It's not just simply um, those yogis practicing for that destination of the Brahmajyoti. It's all the individuals in this world who are not acknowledging the personality of Godhead. I can remember when I first understood this from Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the supreme personality of Godhead. How many times did he mention this in a day? He just drummed it into the consciousness. We didn't know about a personality of Godhead. We only knew about some impersonal imagined form. We didn't acknowledge a personality. So he gave us this over and over, and in his commentaries, his purports, again and again and again, the supreme personality of Godhead. So this first realization is pivotal for the rest to, for the platform, for the next stages to unfold. So unless we have that personal appreciation, it's going to be Nirvishesh Brahm. So just appreciate the magnitude of this Nirvishesh Brahm Gyan. Eve chitrata hina hale nirvishesha hoy, kala samutulya seha aprakata noy. The Mayavad thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental because they are not transcendental. So their vision is that no one else can be. They can't appreciate the Lord as a transcendental entity beyond their um, uh, ability to control. They can only serve that transcendental entity. But if they don't have an inclination, if that inspiration for devotion or service hasn't arisen in the heart, then they will try to be the controllers here. Therefore, they are smearing the conception of God with their own restricted limitations. If you're a really stupid person, you actually look at everyone else as stupid. And if you're an intelligent person, you look for intelligent people. And if you're a pure intelligent person, you'll bring out the intelligence in others by the purity of your intelligence. So it reflects out. So the Mayavad thinks that Sri Krishna to be the subject of the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental. The um, um, definition of transcendental is beyond time. Time was brought into this world by Shambhu when this world is manifested with the glance from Mahavishnu. The jiva and time are impregnated into this world. Previous to that, there was no time. Like in this, that's why we are eternal, because we manifested beyond time and beyond space. This is our constitution. We're coming from that Tatashta eternal region. That is why we are eternal. But we're not eternally these bodies, thank goodness. Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and Leela. This is the greatest tragedy that an impersonalist, like the demigods, for example, they see Krishna's activities, We've described many times in the various leelas, like in when Krishna was defeating Kaliya Naga and he was bound in the coils. The Devas, even though they have an awareness, this is Vishnu and he's extremely powerful, they weren't sure that he could defeat this powerful Naga. So they created earthquakes and what was it? Inauspicious omens happening on the bodies. And there was thunder and lightning and no rain. All inauspicious omens were there. So the Brijvasis would quickly come to that Kaliya Krada and see. And the Devas, what were they thinking? That the Brijvasis could save Krishna from Kaliya Naga? You see, because they didn't have faith in Krishna is the supreme Brahman. He has all the Brahmans within his abdomen. So they're deprived of this because their ultimate belief is the impersonal Brahman. So they can't make, just like we see Indra. When Indra came to beg forgiveness from Krishna for trying to drown all the inhabitants. And then a few weeks later, Krishna goes and asks him for a flower. Indra is sobbing and weeping and condemning himself for his act and glorifying Krishna so much. But then a few weeks later, when Krishna asked for a parijat flower, all he asked for a flower, and Indra refused to give it. So Krishna took the whole tree. How quickly do they forget? Because they don't have that connection with the personal form. They're doing the greatest service, all the Devas. We should never disrespect the Devas in any sense at all. All Surya Dev, what is this savor that he does? Yakchakshu Esha Savita Sakalagrahanam. Rajas Samasta Suramurti Yasheshate. He rides his orbit 365 days of the year in service to the Lord. Indra sends the rains in service to the Lord. Fire incinerates in service to the Lord. They are all performing these major supports for this material situation to continue. But still, they're deprived of this personal connection with the Lord. We should appreciate it. So when we meet people who just worship the demigods, we should try to bring them to a personal conception. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh Brahm. Again, actually, in practically every verse now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is referring to this Nirvishesh Brahm, this impersonal condition. Kanda gyan hoye dharma ache sunishchaya, prakriti hoyle kabu aprakrita noya. Such base and contemptible gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, dismember the divine form, to throw him into an impersonal consideration. You take away the astonishment, you take away the beauty, you take away the attractiveness, you take away all of these leelas we just went through during the month of Kartik. You won't have faith that these are manifesting by that Supreme Lord. You'll think he's a great yogi or a great mystic or a great powerful personality. If we don't have that rock solid appreciation of the nature of the Supreme, this is what Jaiva Dharma Chapter 1, which we're going to discuss today, is going to really clearly elaborate on, very clearly today. Divine form of Bhagavan is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakat dharma. So this Nirvishesh Brahm can't be embraced as the aprakat dharma, the spiritual reality. It's not. So be convinced of that. Okay, so now we're coming to chapter 1, Falshruti Ki Jai. So chapter 1, here, page 9. So yesterday we had this remarkable example of the water, if you remember, and it was describing what is the swabhav, to appreciate the eternal dharma and nature of water as liquidity. not as its acquired nature. Nishag. Nishag is the acquired nature. So be familiar and comfortable with these terminologies because they really fit beautifully when we realize I'm in this material body and this is an acquired nature for my soul. It's not who I am, but it takes time to realize that. Even we hear it again and again and again, but still, but if slowly we begin to um, leave behind our various material priorities and try to put this spiritual practice more and more on the front burner of my existence, then it's going to become more simple to relate to the fact that I'm soul and not this material body. So we discussed this, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur described this very beautifully about the ice and its acquired nature. So try to hold on to these. And if you get a chance to repeat this to somebody, it's a mind-blowing description. People can get it straight away. Yes, the ice is liquid. It's not hard, but it's thinking that it's hard because of so much time being an iceberg. Okay, now we come. Where were we up to actually? I think yes. So now Paramahamsa Babaji wants to. Oh, Sannyasi Thakur, the question. Now he wants to know further the nature of a vastu. By the way, if I sent that copy of those notes around, they're very helpful indeed. These were made by the original translator of these first 12 chapters. His name is Navadvip Prabhu, and he was completely absorbed in the topics of this Jaiva Dharma. And he was very much a scholar, and he made these notes very beautifully. And we can go through these notes, and you can, if you print them out, like I printed these notes out, then it becomes, you can instantly access all of the teachings of this chapter very easily. So now, Sannyasi Thakur is saying, what is that? Oh, what is it that is called Vastu? And what is the meaning of Swabhav? So he's already explained it, but we need to hear it again. Paramahamsa Babaji said, the word Vastu is derived from the Sanskrit verbal root vas, which means to exist. So we're discussing, remember the question all the time that Sannyasi Thakur asked. If there's one dharma, why do so many people describe it in different ways? We're trying to understand the nature of dharma. We're trying to understand this, and Premdas Babaji is explaining it by defining the nature of dharma. Paramahamsa said, the word vastu is derived from the Sanskrit verbal root vas, which means to exist or to dwell. The verbal root becomes a noun when the suffix tu is added. Therefore, vastu means that which has existence or which is self-evident. This is a vastu. There are two types of vastu, vastava and avastava. The term truly abiding substance, vastava, vastu, refers to that which is grounded in transcendence. If it's a truly abiding substance, then it has eternal existence. Ultimately, it's going to be mentioned there are only three vastus, Bhagavan, the Jiva, and the material energy, or Maya. Only three in existence. There's no others except these three. And everything else is revolving around these three essential vastus. And the relationship between these three vastus is called Sambandha Gyan. So this chapter is about Sambandha Gyan in relationship to these three principles. So we have Vastava, Vastu, and Avastava. So this is being explained now. Temporary objects, Avastava Vastu, are Dravya, solid objects, Guna, qualities, and so on. So these are temporary, avastava. When we put an A in front of it, like we say agyan, which is ignorance, we say avaishnava, which is not a Vaishnava. There's different words we use with the A in the front. It means it's not that. So avastava. And dravya, solid objects, and guna, qualities. These are temporary. Qualities and solid objects are only material. They're not eternal. Real objects have eternal existence. Unreal objects only have a semblance of existence, which is sometimes real and sometimes unreal. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam. Only a truly abiding substance, which is related to the supreme absolute truth, and which yields supreme auspiciousness, is worthy of being known. In other words, Nityadam should be the only focus. Why should we waste our time in anything less than that? From this statement, it is clearly understood that the only real substance is that which is related to the supreme transcendence. Sri Bhagavan is the only real entity, Vastava Vastu. The living entity, Jiva, is a distinct or individual part of that entity, while Maya, the potency that produces bewilderment, is the energy of that entity. Three Vastus, Bhagavan, Jiva, and Maya. These are the three eternally abiding substances. He's describing what is Dharma. If Dharma is not based on this, then it's going to be based on some material influence. It's going to have a little bit of a twist on it. In other words, you get different religions, and some of the religion will have some value if it's come something from the Vedic teachings, but then the rest of it has all been imported, so to speak, according to the culture and traditions of the land where that religion has manifested from. But it won't be pure Dharma. It'll be Mishra. It'll be mixed. Therefore, the word Vastu refers to three fundamental principles: Bhagavan, the Jiva, and Maya. So understand that, and understand it in relationship to what is the meaning of Sambandha Gyan. It means the relationship between these three. What is my Jiva relationship with Krishna, ontologically, spiritually, and what is my relationship with Maya? Maya has the propensity to control me. Krishna controls Maya. My relationship with Krishna is one of servant. Knowledge of the mutual relationship between these three principles is known as pure knowledge, Shuddha Gyan. It's also known as Sambandha Gyan, relationship. There are innumerable apparent representations of these three principles, and they are all regarded as avastava vastu, unreal substances. Right? There's so many different relationships that the jiva has with material objects, friends, relatives, family, etc., etc. They are all temporary. If we understand this principle of eternal truths, our life becomes very strong. It's very much, we're building a platform of truth, of essential realities. And it's not what we had always thought it was previously. We have to be educated to come to accept this reality. That means we have to let go of what we previously considered was the absolute truth. This is what education means. When you accept a new focus, a new standard, a new truth, that means you let go of that previous impression and you come to the truthful impression. There are innumerable apparent representations of these three principles. They are all regarded as avastava vastu. Yes, they're not eternal. Unreal substances. The classification of phenomena into various categories such as objects, dravya, and qualities, guna. The Sanskrit has to be placed there because later on there will be many references to dravya and guna. And if you understand clearly the meaning of them, it'll be very helpful. Which is undertaken by the Vaisheshika school of philosophy, is merely a deliberation on the nature of avastava vastu, temporary objects, though this Vaisheshika school is discussing the distinctions between material considerations. By the way, I think I have to educate you because I'm getting some very basic questions now. Somebody asked me the other day, where is the Falshruti? They didn't even know the Falshruti is actually in the book. And they might ask me questions about different terminologies. They're all in the back. I'm saying it again. I said it a couple of days ago. These 3 very comprehensive glossaries are there. Utilize this book. It's fully comprehensive. There's a very good index also at the back if you want to know a particular word. This should become our loving friend. And there's so much, it's so easy to access when you know the glossary, the Falshruti, the index, etc. Everything is there.
Vaisheshik is there on page 914.
Yes. Page
914.
914.
Glossary of
You
terms.
can read about the Vaisheshiki school or the Vaisheshiki philosophy. You can read that yourself for a more in-depth description. What was it?
914.
914. The special characteristic, Vishesh Gun, of any truly abiding substance is its factual nature. The jiva is a real entity and has eternal characteristic quality in his true nature. The jiva is a real entity and has eternal characteristic quality in his true nature. What's that?
You said and has eternal, but it's and his eternal characteristics.
The jiva is a real entity and his eternal characteristic quality is his true nature. Yes, thank you. My eyes are not as strong as they used to be. Correct me anytime. Sannyasi Maharaj said, Prabhu, I want to understand this topic very clearly. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is talking to us. We have to understand this topic very clearly. We want to, because it's very deep. And if we catch it, it'll make a world of difference in everything that we perceive in this world. It'll make this distinction between matter and spirit. I was saying this yesterday. It's the first teaching in Bhagavad Gita. What is the distinction between matter and spirit? Once that's understood categorically, then you're not going to be confused for anything. If there's various deaths or suffering or disasters, etc., you can see it in the context of what is eternal and what is temporary. It doesn't mean you become callous and hard to various catastrophes that happen in life and you just reside in some gyan type consciousness. The heart is also functioning with a sense of compassion, but at the same time, we don't go to pieces about it. If suddenly mother and father die, suddenly children die, yes, this is a tragedy. Don't try to say, oh, this is just their karma or something like that. How is that going to be comforting? We see it many, many times. Even Hiranyakashipu was preaching to his family members. I think it's the 2nd chapter of the 7th canto. He's preaching to his family members about the death of Hiranyaksha. They're all weeping, etc. So even he is understanding the philosophical aspect. But at the same time, there is the material consideration. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he talks about this in the 5th chapter, 6th chapter, I think, about being balanced. This is a holistic process. Everything has to be incorporated. Sannyasi Thakur, Sannyasi Maharaj said, Prabhu, I want to understand this topic very clearly. Babaji Mahashai replied, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, who was an object of the mercy of Nityananda, Prabhu, showed me a manuscript. Why was he an object of Nityananda's mercy? What's the pastime? When he, apparently in his family life, he argued with his brother. His brother had condemned Abhiram, Mini Caitanya Ram. Mini Caitanya Ram had visited their household, who was a exemplary pure devotee, and his brother and the pujari, Gunanava, had not accepted what Mini Caitanya Ram was saying. They were only accepting Mahaprabhu. They were not accepting Nityananda, because Nityananda was in the mood of an avadut. So it was very hard for people to understand the avadut activities of Nityananda. So some would reject Nityananda. But Srila Krishna's Kaviraj was very angry with this because his Nishta was fully with Nityananda Prabhu. And that night he had a dream, and a beautiful person on a chariot with a palm frond on his emblem came, and it was Baladev, and ordered him directly to go to Vrindavan. So this was the mercy of Nityananda on Srila Krishna's Kaviraj. He went to Vrindavan immediately at a young age. He was about 18 or 19. So sometimes we get the wrong impression because there's a beautiful painting that Shamrani did years ago, but it depicts Krishnadas Kaviraj as being an old man in the painting, seeing this vision of Baladev. He wasn't. If you go to the village here, his home village, um, Jalampur, I think is the name of it, but there you'll find his family house, and they will tell you categorically he left when he was about 18 or 19 years old. He never got married. He left at an late teens is when he left her and went to reside in Radhakund for the rest of his life, where he wrote the Govinda Lilamrita and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he was a young man when he left, not old. So I know personally I had the impression that he was old when he left because I could see this painting. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada said a painting tells 1,000 words. So if we're doing a painting to put in a divine holy book, it has to be under guidance and it has to be correct according to Tattva and Siddhanta. If it's not correct, I don't know how that got, because Prabhupada was directing all of Shamrani Didi's works. But that image of the old man, old Krishnadas Kaviraj, made me always have that impression that he left late. No, he left when he was young. So that's just a note to add. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami showed me a manuscript that he had written with his own hand. Sriman Mahaprabhu has instructed us on this subject in the book named Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 20:108 as follows. Jivera Surup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti, Beda Abeda Prakash. So the constitutional nature of the jiva is to be an eternal servant of Sri Krishna. He is the marginal potency of Krishna and is a manifestation simultaneously one with him and different from him. This was spoken to Sanatan Goswami when he's asking Mahaprabhu in Varanasi, who am I? Ki ami? Who am I? He's saying, everyone is calling me a great pandit, a great scholar, but actually I don't consider that the truth. I want to know what is my spiritual identity. Mahaprabhu is responding this, Jivara Sarup Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas. You are an eternal servant of Krishna. And then Krishna Boli Se Jiva Anadi Bahir Mukh. Ataiva Maya Tare Deya Samsara Duk. This is again from the same chapter, Madhya Lila 20, Chaitanya Charitamrita. The jiva who has forgotten Krishna has been preoccupied with the external potency since time without beginning. He couldn't find the internal spiritual strength. So the overpowering potency of the illusory energy completely took away the jiva's power to discriminate. And he just falls under this sway. Why? Because the jiva wants to enjoy matter. That's the specific reason why the jiva actually comes into this world. He does get a choice in the Tatashta region. He gets a choice to either go back and serve the Lord in his divine spiritual form, or to become like the Lord and like the enjoyer, like the bhakta, the bhaktri, the enjoyer. We are not the enjoyers, we are the enjoyed. Consequently, Krishna's illusory potency, Maya, gives him mercy in the form of material existence. Ha! This is mercy. We have to consider all the difficulties in life as mercy. And why are they mercy? Because hopefully they will push us into a place of exasperation with the sufferings. And we'll finally just bow down our heads on our knees. Dear Lord, how can I be relieved of this shocking suffering? When we hear of suffering conditions in the world, actually it's mercy on those jivas. It's karma also, of course, that they are undergoing. But simultaneously, the devotee will see it as mercy, but the materialist will see it as his karma. He'll see it as the fruits of his previous activities. But the devotee sees that as mercy, mercy which will bring him closer to the. This is the land, the world in Jambadweep, in this Burloka of karma yoni. Karma yoni means the species of karma. In the heavenly planets, it's Bhoga yoni. It's the pleasure species. In the lower planets, it's Papa yoni. But here it's karma yoni. We are incurring our various karmas. But these karmas are going to give us mercy. Jiva Goswami, he says, Dear Lord, please demonstrate this suffering condition as your mercy. I am understanding that all this suffering is nothing but your mercy. Whatever suffering I am undergoing. Therefore, the devotee can become tolerant of all the various afflictions that confront him during his life. Krishna is the complete transcendental substance, Chidvastu. Chid means eternal, spiritual, fully transcendental. Krishna is that Chidvastu. He is often compared to the sun of the spiritual realm, and the jivas are compared to the sun's atomic particles of light. Jivas are innumerable. When it is said that they are individual parts of Krishna, it does not mean that they are like the pieces of stone that form a mountain. Although innumerable jiva portions emanate from Sri Krishna, he is not diminished by this in the slightest. For this reason, the Vedas have compared the jivas in one respect to sparks emanating from a fire. In reality, no adequate comparison can be made. Just like the sparks from a fire are the same as the fire in essence, but they're infinitesimally smaller. We are atomic particles of the spiritual potency. Krishna is the supreme origin, that Anuchit. He's the supreme. Vibhuchit. We are Anuchit. We are atomic particles. Krishna is Vibhu. He is the complete whole. So just like the sparks from a fire, a spark can ignite a whole blaze that could even incinerate the whole world if it touched the dry grass, etc. It has the same potency, but it's infinitesimally smaller. Like as another example of taking a spoonful of water from the ocean. The spoonful of water is exactly the same constitution as the ocean, but it's the difference is in its quantity. It's very, very infinitesimal, small. It's so simple philosophy, really. If it wasn't simple, it wouldn't be the absolute truth. It's not, it's only complex if you're fighting about it. But if you're accepting it, it's the most simple, conclusive truths for the consciousness. It's like we get bathed in this nectar of the absolute reality, and the soul is so relieved Consciousness is the soul, the symptom of soul is consciousness. So the consciousness is totally bathed in the nectar of the absolute truth when it's revealed to him. This is why reading a shastra like this can be so comforting and so satisfying for the sadhak to absorb himself in. Although innumerable jiva portions emanate from Krishna, he is not diminished by this in the slightest. For this reason, the Vedas have compared the jivas in one respect to sparks emanating from a fire. Yes, the fire doesn't diminish because the sparks emanate out of it. In reality, no adequate comparison can be made. No comparison whether to sparks of a blazing fire, atomic particles within the rays of the sun, or gold produced from powerful mystic jewels is completely appropriate because we're trying to use material words to describe a transcendental situation. We're limited. We don't have the vocabulary, but we're getting something of a focus. What's it called? Saki Chandranaya, where if you want to see a certain star that is very small, you look to the um, higher, the more bright star, and then you say, oh, it's close to this star. This is the philosophy of Saki Chandranaya. Or looking to the moon. Where is the moon? Oh, look between those branches of the tree. There it is. So you're getting some indication by these material words and language. Some indication is there. When we chant nicely, when we chant without offenses, when we actually act on these teachings of trying to become detached from this material world, then mercy will flow from that quarter, from that son of Krishna, from that supreme entity. Mercy will come in the consciousness to understand, to appreciate it more deeply, to realize it, to have realization. We want vigyan, not gyan. We want realization of these truths. What's the point of gyan? There's so many gyanis. We need gyan to purify our ignorance, that avidya. But really, the jiva should be hankering for this vigyan, this realization of these truths. This is why we chant. We want to have direct, perceptive realization. The true nature of the jiva is easily revealed in the heart, but only when the mundane conception of these comparisons is given up. That's basically what I just said, isn't it?
Yes.
When we can't attain it through mundane language and words. We can only attain it through our diligent practice and our consciousnesses becoming linked with the divine consciousness. We are Vibhinamsa. Vibhinamsa is the terminology that we're familiar with. Separated. Vibhin means separated. Angsa. Separated from that supreme Angsi. Krishna is the Angsi, the whole, and we are separated from him. Krishna is infinite spiritual substance. Brihat Chidvastu. So previously he said it was Chidvastu, right, at the top of the other paragraph.
Yes.
Now we're being more educated. No, he's not just Chidvastu, he's Brihat Chidvastu. He's the greatest spiritual entity. See the sequence, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is brilliant. He's not going to just slam it all on our plate at once. He's gradually easing us into these conceptions. Whereas the jivas are infinitesimal spiritual substance, anuchid vastu. The oneness of Krishna and the jivas lies in their spiritual nature, chid dharma. So now we get back to the subject at hand. Sannyasi Thakur was asking about dharma. So now what is the true dharma of the jiva? So the true dharma of the jiva is that transcendental substance in relationship to the supreme, the brihat chid vastu. But they are undoubtedly different as well. That's essential to appreciate. Achintya, Veda, Abed, Tattva. One and simultaneously different. The Advaita school says there's no difference, ultimately. Therefore, they are Mayavads. The Brahmavad view is to understand a supreme Ishvara, but that supreme Ishvara has also manifested from the Brahman. so that Brahman is greater than Ishvara. This is like the Devas. They believe that Vishnu has manifested from that Brahman. These are subtleties that are helpful to appreciate the whole. But they are undoubtedly different as well, because their natures are complete and incomplete respectively. Who feels complete? I bet if I asked 2,000 people who actually sincerely feels complete, I don't think many could actually raise their hands and say. That would be an Atmarama, someone who is fully satisfied. That ultimately is a Mahabhagavat, who's completely, even a Mahabhagavat is not complete in his seva attitude to his guru. My Guru Dev used to say that he never feels that he's satisfying his guru sufficiently, because otherwise then he would stop trying to please. The energy, the dynamic of enthusiasm and greed to please Guru would be reduced if you suddenly thought, yes, I've reached that place of satisfaction. I've done so much seva. We never feel like that. Krishna is the eternal Lord of the Jivas, and the Jivas are Krishna's eternal servants. Now we're coming to understand something of Sambandha, the relationship between these two Vastus, the Jiva and Krishna. This interrelationship is natural. This is a big point. It's natural. That means it's the condition of the heart. You can't force the heart to love something, because the ultimate consideration is based on affection. This is where it's principled. It's the love region that is going to connect you with the Lord. It's the love that you have towards your spiritual master that will connect you to Krishna. It's that transcendental affection that is going to connect us to Krishna. That love is not by the mind, not by Gyan. Gyan will not connect us. Gyan will purify us to a great degree and can help us along the road and clear the avidya. But Gyan ultimately is just like a signpost pointing to where is the truth. But we have to go to that place and have realization, make it a reality by connecting in service, because love, we've said so many times, is the symptom of service. Service is the symptom of love. If you love somebody, if you love anything, you will serve them naturally. If you love your dog or your cat or your husband, wife, children, country, anything, you will render service in that direction. So service is the symptom of love. Krishna is the supreme ruler, and the jivas are ruled. Krishna is the observer, and the jivas are observed. Krishna is the complete whole, and the jivas are poor and insignificant. Krishna is the possessor of all potency, and the jivas are devoid of potency. Therefore, the eternal swabhav or dharma of the jiva is Krishna Das, eternal servants and obedience to Krishna. Very simple analogy of the hand. What is the dharma of the hand? Is to serve the body. That's its function. That is where the hand is going to find satisfaction, when it's serving the body. If the hand decides, I want to be independent from the body and enjoy myself, why is this body getting all the pleasure? Why can't I get some pleasure? Then it divorces itself from the body. It cuts itself off. What will happen? It'll just shrivel and be useless and ineffective for anything. And that is exactly like us. As soon as we separate ourselves from the service of the Lord directly, we just become useless in this world. But the illusion is so thick that we act, because Krishna has arranged it this way, that we actually think, yes, I'm getting some pleasure, this Jad Anand, this dull material pleasure. And we keep trying for that. It's like the analogy is given in the 7th canto of the Jiva being chased by the tiger, and he falls into a dark well, and he catches hold of the 2 branches, and below him he sees all venomous poisonous snakes in the dry well, and above him he sees the face of the tiger, and he's holding on to these two branches. One is a black branch and one is a white branch. And there's two rats. They start to eat at these branches. This is the analogy of day and night. But when he fell in and caught these branches, a little bit of honey started dripping from a hive that was in that tree, and it came right past his tongue. And he sticks his tongue out and tastes the honey. And for a fraction of a moment, he thinks, now I'm happy. But look at his dilemma. There's a tiger above. His time is being eaten by these rats. He's got danger below. Where is there any cause for happiness? It's danger. But he's thinking momentarily, this is Maya. This is the nature of the hand divorces itself from the body, and for some moments it thinks it's getting some pleasure with that independence from the whole. But how quickly is that terminated by the conflicting misery? I'll read that last sentence again. Therefore, the eternal swabhav or dharma of the jiva is Krishna das, eternal service and obedience to Krishna. That little paragraph we've just read is so phenomenal. I mean, every single sentence is like a power pack. You can read it again and again to get confirmed of our position in relationship to the supreme position. Because this is always our difficulty. Even when you start to chant a few nice rounds, you'll get some pride straight away. Oh, I'm chanting so nicely. We'll start to understand a little bit of, oh, I can understand Jaiva Dharma. Oh, I can, it's always this I becomes prominent. This pride must be purified. And Guru and Vaishnavas can really help. That's why we need this association. We need association in our lives. Otherwise, this pride will take us, and we won't even know it's taken over us. It'll lead us into all dangerous kind of situations. Krishna is endowed with unlimited potencies, his Shaktis. His complete potency, Purna Shakti, is perceived in the manifestation of the spiritual world, Chit Jagat. Who is that supreme Shakti that is personified? It's Sri Radha. Sri Radha is that supreme potency that even has the ability to control Krishna. We were saying yesterday, I was describing to you, Krishna's Radharani's fragrance bewilders Krishna. Krishna is bewildering the whole world by the sound of his flute, and yet the sound of Radharani's ankle bells bewilder him. So this is a remarkable phenomenon, that Krishna is the origin of Shakti, and yet the Shakti has the ability to control Krishna. Why? Because of what we just said, through her love. Aradhana means that one who has the most worship for Krishna, the most love for Krishna. The deepest attraction to Krishna is Radha. Adhika, that means someone who is beyond the best in their ability to please Krishna, to satisfy Krishna. Radhika. Similarly, his Tatashta Shakti or marginal potency is observed in the manifestation of the jivas. A special potency acts in assembling the finite world. Apuna Jagat. This is the Apuna, not Puna. Puna means like we have the Purnima. That's full. Apuna means not full. Jagat means the material world. Means what? World, yes. And this potency is known as Tatastha Shakti. The action of the marginal potency is to create an entity, Vastu, which exists between the animate objects, Chidvastu, and inanimate objects, Achidvastu. This is the purpose of Tatastha. It has actually the ability to go between two, the spirit and matter. This had to be manifested for the material world to have existence. There can be no existence if there's no connection between the spirit and matter. So it's this Tatashta Shakti that creates the connection between the spirit and matter. We are living that. We are that marginal energy. The action of the marginal potency is to create an entity, Vastu, which exists between the animate objects, Chidvastu, and inanimate objects, Achidvastu, and which can maintain a relationship with both the spiritual and material worlds. Purely transcendental entities are by nature quite the opposite to inanimate objects, and therefore have no connection whatsoever with them. The pure devotee actually doesn't have any connection with matter because he has no attachment to matter. He will interact with matter for the sake of service, but in his transcendental state of consciousness, he has no connection. What's that? Tasmat Guru Prapadyeta Jignashu Shreyan Uttamam Shabde Pray Tanishnantam Brahmani Upashamashrayam. These are the three descriptions of a pure devotee. He is understanding all Shastra, he's fully realized in Shastra, and the last one, he's completely detached utterly from matter. He has no attachment to matter whatsoever because he knows there's no happiness in this material world. Why should we be attached to this material world? If I understand I'm spirit, then we want that spiritual bliss which is in service to the Supreme Spirit. And the spirit realized soul realizes that he cannot enjoy matter. Matter can't provide a happiness for the soul because it's matter, because it's temporary, and therefore have no connection whatsoever with them. Although the jiva is an animate spiritual particle, he is capable of a relationship with inanimate matter due to the influence of Aishi Shakti. This Aishi Shakti is the same as Tatashta Shakti. This Aishi Shakti is the spiritual Shakti, is the spiritual world. He is capable of a relationship with, due to the influence of the divine potency. That is what this Aishi Shakti is, which is known as the Tatastha Shakti, this borderline condition. Oh. So we're going to stop here. Tomorrow we'll describe more what is this Tatastha Shakti. So are we gathering it comfortably with everything? Not anything? We're in process of realization of these truths, but at least if we catch the parameters of the truth that is being presented, even intellectually, academically, we can catch that. These notes, I promise you, are really helpful. I would advise you to hold on to them and examine them closely. But we are praying for realization of these truths, not simply scholastic understanding or ability or academic or something. It's not in the intellect. And in the heart of it, it's in the realm of affection and love for that Supreme Lord. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Like I've been saying each time, without our attraction and respect fully for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then these truths won't be so easily manifested in the heart. When our love and attraction for him grows, and we here are most fortunate because we're actually speaking this from his very place, his abode. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. So I'm just going to say 3 Hare Krishnas to close the door. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. You have to say also. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Stop it. 20 seconds. Stop it.